Why is that last week's? Where's today's? There we go. Okay, there it is. Okay, looks like we are live. We are live. Anke Ma'at, everyone. I'm gonna play some music real quick while we get prepared, and I'm gonna post in our chat that we are live. Can you guys hear that? Okay. I am that I am. I am the breath of the infinite sky, the wing of the falcon that teaches to fly. I am the flame in the temple of Ra, the rhythm of stars that vibrate afar. I am the soul. I am the truth with my head in the heart, the balance that holds our worlds apart. I am the river you turn into sea, the hidden creator in you and in me. I am the silence before the sound, the circle of life going round and around. I am the fire in spirit and bone, the light of the sun and the marrow and stone. I am the way. I am the seed, the fruit of the tree, the dream of what was and what yet shall be. I am the witness, the dancer, the play, the night turning slowly into the day. I am the truth, my head in the heart, the balance that holds our world. I am the river turning to sea, the hidden creator. I am the balance no darkness can break, the truth that no shadow can ever remain. I am the spark in the center of flame. I am cosmic remembrance that whispers your name. All right. Anke Ma'at, everyone. To the sisters on screen here, Anke Ma'at to you all. I hope you all are well. Please forgive me. I'm all puffed up, steroids and everything else. I've had a rough week, but yet and still we are here. So before Sinet Oye opens the way, I'm just going to say dua to the Netaru and all who come to gather in this circle today as we center our hearts on the work. Again, we're continuing the topic of last week of Saruja Ma'at, restoring, strengthening, and uplifting the balance of Ma'at within ourselves and the community. And as we gather during what's coming to a close of Women's Month, we also want to recognize the sacred presence of the divine feminine within creation. We all know that in our tradition, in the Kemetic tradition, there's balance. We have the feminine and the masculine forces. But today we're going to honor the nurturing, guiding, and restorative power of the divine feminine expressed through the Netaru, which are the divine feminine forces, and reflected in the wisdom, compassion, and strength among us as far as we are women. So before we get started into the entire session, I would like to mute so Sinette Oye can go ahead and open the way for us. I cannot stand, so I am mentally doing it just so that you all are aware.
Akamaya family. So we are going to stand up and get in the pose of adoration facing the east as we give honor to Baba Heru for creating this ritual and then gifting it to us. All right, left foot forward, right foot back, left hand forward, right hand back. We will inhale 3 times, take 3 deep breaths, and then on the last breath, we will chant the word Ankh. First breath in, let it out. Second breath in, and let it out. Third breath in, then when you let it out, chant the word Ankh. Let it in. Nesharak in Bedhet, Nuke in Bedhet, Nesharak Happy, Nuke Happy, Twau Inter, Nesharak Circuit, Nuke Circuit, Nesharak Kepsanu, Nuke Kepsanu, Twau Inter. Nesharak Ast, Nuke Ast, Nesharak Set, Nuke Set, Twau Inter. Nesharak Meat, Nuke Meat, Nesharak Duamutef, Nuke Duamutef, Twau Inter. Netrak Newt, Nuke Newt, Netrak Gab, Nuke Gab, Twau Inter. Netrak Shoo, 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 Nuke Shoo. Netrak Tefnut, 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 Nuke Tefnut. Netrak Paut Interu, Nuke Paut Interu. Netrak Hambu Interu, Nuke Hambu Interu. Twau Inter. Dua, 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 dua.
Dua, dua, dua. Dua Baba Heru, Ankras Mad Pata, Ma'ake Ru, opener of the way, wearer of Ma'at, and the custodian of the Ankh. We continue the ritual which you have brought to us as we live the legacy. All right, we open this sacred space today in reverence. May our past before us be cleared. May our hearts be alive with Ma'at, and may harmony dwell among us. Dua to the Neteru, who guide our steps. Dua to the Neterut, who nurture life and restore balance. May the circle be protected and uplifted while we gather in unity. Now we go into giving flowers, of course. I like to always give our flowers to those we can give them to while they are here above ground. So we always want to give flowers to Himneter and Tepi, the Jed Ma'at Ra Jabari, which is our chief priest. He's also got a solar return. So you all wish him happy birthday, happy solar return. That's coming up on the 25th of March. We always like to give honor to him, Netter Wasiri, who is still with us in spirit. And, hopefully will be rejoining us once he is healed and he is doing well. We give honor to our opener of the way, Sinette Oye, for coming and bringing the beautiful sound and vibration of the opening of the way every Sunday. Of course, our family member here, Be Wisdom, who has returned, so we can have a discussion about some female divine energies and forces. All of you family who are present with us or watch later, and of course, all of the Netaru. We offer flowers and gratitude for life, renewal, and divine nurturing. Those flowers remind us of the beauty that grows when balance is cared for. You water your plants, place them under the sunlight, and they grow and they open and they bloom. So that's what those flowers are about. May their nurturing presence inspire us to care for one another, restore balance wherever it has been weakened. So we in such a sort of a way we've already set our feather, but we'll go ahead and do that again so that we take a breath for opening our mind. I don't have my bell chimes. I'm down in my bedroom. So some of my equipment I don't have with me because I can't get up the stairs right now. So let's just take a deep breath so we can open our minds. And another one so that we can lighten our spirits. A third so we can lighten our hearts. And the fourth and final, we want to breathe in Ma'at and exhale any if set should it be present. All right. So I align my thoughts with Ma'at, my words and my actions. May they all be aligned with Ma'at. And today I commit myself to strengthening Ma'at within my heart, within my community, and within my family, hoping that you will do the same. All right. As we get into adoration, I want to I'll read a little something and then I'm going to turn the floor over to Be Wisdom as we get into the conversation of what we even perceive divine feminine energy to be. So I'm just going to read. Praise to Ma'at, Lady of Truth, feather of balance, foundation of the two lands. You who existed from the first moment of creation. You who established harmony among the Netaru and humanity. May our hearts be light like your feather, and may our words be guided by your truth. I say praise to Aset, great mother of wisdom, she whose magic restores life, she who gathers the scattered and makes whole again. May her wisdom guide our thoughts. May her protection surround our community. We also say praise to Het Heru, Lady of Heaven, she who fills the land with joy, music, and beauty. She whose love nourishes the living and whose presence brings renewal to the spirit. May her joy open our hearts. May her nurturing presence strengthen our bonds. I also want to say I want to honor the mothers who came before us, our ancestral mothers whose strength carried generations forward, those who endured, those who nurtured, those who protected the sacred flame of life. May their wisdom live within us. May their courage guide us. And may their love continue to flow through our community. With that, I say dua to the divine feminine in all her forms, dua to the netaru, and I say root with the meaning the female aspects of the netaru who sustain the balance of the world. Now let's get into some conversation. Um, let's just, organically talk about what the divine feminine energies mean to us. What does that mean to you, Sinette? Be wisdom.
Um, what does divine feminine energy mean to me? Who? It means me, I guess. I don't know else how to say it. I think sometimes we get a little too deep into what is feminine energy, what is masculine energy, and all this other kind of stuff. Um, Not understanding. I read something that crazy last night about that. A woman was telling another woman who was considered herself to be what is the terminology that they use? She binary, I guess. Is that the word? I guess she didn't consider herself to have male or female binary. So she was talking to the lady about that, and a woman was saying, well, she was just going off what all her friends were saying. So they weren't identifying, and so she was they them versus a her or whatever. Even though she said I'm a woman, and then she was going into what is considered masculine, what's considered feminine, and talking about being assertive is masculine, and it's not. The thing is this: I think we use words to say certain things. To feel like it's masculine. It's not masculine. It is what it is. It's assertive. However, the difference what comes in for me between a masculine energy and a feminine energy is how you go about being assertive, right? That's the difference. It's not what it is. It's not, for lack of a better word, people like to say alphas, right? You're not an alpha because that's the alpha man. No, it's about how you show up in your energy. So as a woman, femininity, I can be assertive. I can be a boss or whatever other words you want to use. Um, I can be a warrior. However, the way I show up in that looks different than how someone in their masculinity or a man shows up in doing that. And I think that's the thing that we have to learn to know what that dance is and what it looks like. And I think for many of us, I know for me, I'm still working on that because I grew up in a world where things of femininity were considered to be weakness. So our true power we think of as weaknesses instead of using them to our benefit. Um, Whether it be the way we walk, the way we talk, how we come into a room and can settle things down, but we feel like we got to do it like men do it. Like, hold up, wait a minute, let's come in here. We can come in. Femininity is subtleness of things sometimes, and there's great power in that. So, in that answering it, I'm still figuring out myself exactly feminine energy, what it is, what it looks like, and how to move in it um authentically for myself. Because I have been that one from the way I grew up and then being in the military and working in corporate world in the military since I've had to take on a lot of masculine forms because I felt like I had to, and now trying to move into um feminine power and understanding that it is still um necessary and useful, and I don't have to show up like a man to get what I want and all the things that I need.
Too.
I know I was all over the place with that, but
No, no, that's because it's such a broad topic. You know what I mean? We show up in many different, I don't know, many different areas. And like
mm-hmm,
you said, depending on how we have to show up, and I know that I've heard a lot of women that I know use that term too, alpha female. I'm the alpha, you know what I mean? Um, and I think that, and we also have, like, I grew up around most women that were raising the children, a lot of absent fathers. But then I had both sets of my grandparents who were, I grew up with them. One was the very old fashioned. They died together. You know what I mean? Doesn't necessarily mean that their relationship was always healthy, but they lived life together. They come from the old school. They're from down south. You know what I mean? Um, I came up knowing elder women whose husbands had whole other families. You know what I mean? But they took care of this family, and the wives would know about it. But it was a different thing, I guess, back then. You know what I mean? But I do see a lot of that where we have to feel like we're so alpha, and like you just said, we show up in almost every character, the hard, the I'm tough, and I can do it all myself. You know what I mean? I don't really, and then that concept, I don't need a man type of thing. Um, and yes, we've proven it to be true that anybody in life can do it by themselves if they have to, man or woman. But is that natural?
kinda. It's one thing is doing something by yourself, but are you being successful in it by yourself?
By yourself?
We survived, we made it, but was it what it should be by myself?
Right. Was it meant to be that way? Just because you
That
can't
way.
do it by yourself, does that mean that it's supposed to be that way? You know what I mean? Um, we all know to create, it takes man and woman to have a child. You know what I mean? So I am curious to know what a lot of folks think about, that, and what feminine, divine feminine energy actually looks like. How about you, Sinette Oye? What does that look like for you?
um, well, feminine energy, I guess it took a lot of forms, is what I've grown to learn. It's not just a feminine, and it's not just a female energy, because men have it too, men can also operate in feminine energy as well as masculine energy. And I think what happens is sometimes you're too much in feminine energy, or you can be too much in masculine energy, and we have to learn how to balance the two, so that we're operating in both, but in a balanced way or whatnot. At one point in time in my life, and that's because of how I grew up, when I was younger, like, I want to say about the age of 4, maybe 4, 5, 6, somewhere within those age ranges. I witnessed DV, you know, and my mother and my father. And I remember being the little, child crying in the middle, just screaming my top of my lungs, because to me, I'm thinking, if I cry louder, they'll stop. But witnessing that and seeing that, it put a bad taste in my mouth for the female aspect, for what a woman looks like, because women do operate more in the feminine energy over the masculine. Well, back in the day. Now, today, women are more masculine, but I don't think that's by choice. At one point in time, like, um, I feel like we as women had no choice but to step into that masculine energy, because we were single mothers. It wasn't no man in the household, or if the man was in the household, he wasn't upholding his duties, uh, in being that, in within that role, and that could be because he didn't have somebody to show him what that role looked like when he was being raised. It's like a trickle effect, if you will. You get what I'm saying? I know I feel like I feel like now I'm rambling on to get to the point, but it's like every time, this is what I mean by, it's like levels, I guess, to femininity and masculinity and stuff like that. So at one point in time, it was a terrible thing. I did not want to be feminine. Okay, I wanted to be masculine, because feminine got your head knocked off your shoulders. You get what I'm saying? That's what my 4-year old, 5-year old, 6-year old mind comprehended when I seen my father, whooping up on my mom, and my mom trying to fight back. You know what I mean? So at one point in time, I said to myself, yeah, that's not going to be me. Mm-mm, that's not going to be me.
Yeah.
And I looked down at women. Okay, I wanted to be a man. I wanted to be a boy.
I
Like,
too
I was a whole
experienced that.
tomboy growing up. Okay, and I wanted to
Mhm.
prove that I could do what men can do. Besides, what I can't do that a man can do. But I wanted to prove that. You get what I'm saying? Because of what I seen. Like, to me, it showed weakness, and I didn't want to appear weak, in the eyes of my peers or whatnot. But what I've grown to learn is, as I too started to indwell on the path of getting in tune with my feminine side, because my soul was yearning for it. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to keep it shoved down deep, what I mean, and operate in this masculine energy, being the man. And that's more for protection. You know what I mean? I needed to protect my feminine essence, if you will. So I had to kind of adopt that role, My dad was there, and I'm quite sure, he did the best that he could, or that he felt that he could do in trying to keep me safe. But for my young mind, I guess it wasn't enough. So I kind of had to, I felt like I had to, fend for myself. I had to take care of myself or whatever. So yeah, I did. I adopted more of a masculine role. But moving into a more feminine role, I have a respect for the divine feminine now, that energy. I have the utmost respect for that energy, because if you do get a chance to even to operate in that energy just a little bit, just a little bit, you too will feel how powerful that energy is, just the nurturing aspect, the being able to say what you need to say and not have to raise your voice.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Like, the people tune into you. Like, if you're whispering, like, what is my girl's name? Cosby mom.
Uh, uh, um, um,
Claire Huxtable,
Claire Huxtable.
Yeah, Claire Huxtable, but what is her actual name?
I got it. Like,
Alicia Rashad.
there it is.
Yes,
Felicia Rashad.
Felicia Rashad. Like, if you hear how she speaks in a very low tone, where you have to tune into her. You understand? You have to listen. Actually, like, I got to make sure I'm catching everything that she's saying, because like her tone is so low, like, and you know that she's saying something profound. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
like that example of femininity is a beautiful thing, and it can be very powerful as well. And that's where I'll yield, because I feel like I'm going in circles.
No, no, you're not.
Yeah, I think we all identify with you too, as far as growing up and feeling like we had to um walk around like I can do whatever a guy can do and a man can do because of the society that we lived in. For sure, I know I've been that one. I've said that several times out my mouth. That was my motto back in the day. If a man can do it, I can do it. I could probably do it better. Like, I'm dead serious. I wouldn't say that, but also I think something we need to talk about and identify. There's a difference between feminine energy, right, or being feminine, and divine feminine energy. Like, we have to make sure that we understand the difference in that, right? And being in your divine feminine energy, one is sacred, is ancient, right? You're attaching back to your ancestral lineage. When you talk about divine feminine energy, you talk about your connection to the universe, to the most high, to whatever you call God or you believe is a higher being outside of you. When you connect to that power, and the feminist part of that's when you're getting into divine feminine energy versus just femininity and what's feminine and soft and all that kind of stuff, right? Divine feminine energy can be fire, it can be passion, it can be soft, it's all of those things also. But it's the difference is divine feminine energy is being, not doing. It's when you get into your intuition, your nurturing, and knowing. That's how the divine feminine energy shows up. Divine meaning this is within you, mean you're connected to um divinity, right? You're connected to the divine, and that energy state in it. So how you move is in that. So it's not necessarily based on an action per se. Like, because how I show up in a room is so extra dainty. I saw these videos that this girl's making. Hey, people put stuff on TikTok and social media, and people just eat it up. She's doing videos talking about what's considered a soft woman versus a hard woman, or living your soft life, whatever word she used, I don't even remember. But she's doing stuff like basically how you sit down will show is if you're in your survival mode or if you're in your soft girl mode. I was like, girl, shut up. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with how I sit if I'm in my divine femininity, how I choose to order my food. And she got so many followers, it's bananas, and these women are eating this up.
Wow.
And it's crazy. And what I had to learn myself with my own evolution and my own evolving and learning about myself and the divine feminine within me. And a lot of this, I'm gonna just plug somebody real quick that I have learned a lot of from taking classes and being a part of women's group from Queen Tadinway, which is a member of the Shrine of My Aunt. So up in Queen Tadinway, love her to death. Helped me understand some of my own divine feminine energy and what that looks like. But even in that, I realized some of the things that may be considered for her to be divine feminine doesn't necessarily go along with my own divine feminine,
Mhm.
right? So I've learned about this so-called soft life. I'm very divine and I walk in all my femininity, but in that is fire, is passion.
Mhm.
It's like some of our now the room they show up, they in their divine feminine, but it's fire, it's passion behind it, it's strength behind it. They finna tear some shit up, right?
Right.
For real. And all that is in the divinity and the feminine of who they are, so recognizing that too, it's not just about just, again, how I walk or how I move in a room and so. But you were saying about Felicia Rashad, yes, because she's being who she is. You know what I'm saying? She's not trying to do anything else or none of those things and all of that. I think many of us don't know how to do that because we weren't protected and it was taken advantage of when we were younger. But one thing I will say that I have learned, um, because a lot of us say, well, we didn't have the men in our lives to, to cover and protect us. Um, if you're any type of spiritual being, you can ground yourself and you can ground yourself in the most high in the masculine energy of the God that you serve, right? Or the God that you believe or follow. And that will cover you. And if you are being your divine feminine and you just move with it and you be and you trust that the masculine divine is your man, is your daddy, is whatever, then he got you, right? So you can still move in that. And it comes back to the thing, I create my circumstances and what I think is what it is. So if I think I'm covered, then I can move in my femininity. Especially now as women. I know it was a little bit different being little girls. We don't really we are subjected to protection of who's around us when we're younger. But now as grown women, um, we don't necessarily need all that all the time. I'm not saying that man, you can't step up to the plate. I'm not saying that. But overall, us we can protect we can lean on the most high to recognize that we are still covered so that we can lean more into our divine feminine and not be scared too, because I think that's where we at. Many of us are I'm using the word that's coming to me, terrified to do so because
Absolutely.
of our past.
Absolutely. And as we are terrified, that's why you'll see the timid when we have something to say. You'll see that timidness and not, then you get that stigma that if when you're being assertive then you're being manly, things like that. So it's like we're always seeking approval to be ourselves, to be our authentic selves, when we don't necessarily have to be. And for men, if they're tapping into that feminine energy, then they're told to be weak, which is false as well, because we're all given both of these energies, both the masculine and feminine. And it in especially when we're talking about divine energies, just like you said. We're not just talking about what we wear and how we dress, or, how hard we speak and things like that. We're specifically talking about our divinity, which all of those aspects of the Netaru, those both the male and female, or not even say if we just take away male and female, feminine and masculine aspects are within all of us, and they're there for us to utilize at any time that we need. So that's something, the stigma that a lot of us women have, like you said, even since childhood. And if you look at most of, think you the three of us may have had a conversation, look at most of the uh, spiritual systems, religions, and different things. There's a hierarchy. There's always the man. You know what I mean? Some of them have taken away the women altogether. We know that Christianity takes away the woman. It says Father, Spirit, Holy Spirit, and child. It doesn't even talk about the woman that it takes to get to, what I mean, to that. In our spirituality here, in the Kemetic spirituality, we recognize both. However, what I do notice, even though we know that there are, we've got plenty of the feminine divine energy aspects. We've got us. We've got even all the way dating back, which Sinet Oye tapped me into the energies of Wajet and Neket. You know what I mean? Which are more ancient than some of the ones that we're even more familiar with, and they are probably one of the first feminine aspects of Netaru in the Kemetic legacy. We have all of that, but if you look around, ideally we still see that although we practice this balance in Ma'at, we still see more men. We don't see a lot of women taking charge. And again, it's not to say that I want to be manly, but coming out of that intimidation period and being seen, being heard, being on the forefront. You know what I mean? It's mostly men. Do you think that there is a natural, and not just in the comedic practice, but do you believe that there is a natural hierarchy where, it's leveled man, woman, child? Do you think, how do we see this balance between both, when what we see is typically the women on the back, on the back end, who are not on the front lines as much as the men are?
I think so. This is the craziest thing. In a way, women are always on the front lines. Can you think about it? Anytime we have any type of thing, it's always the women doing it. When you get in the grassroots and stuff, you know who's in charge of most of them grassroots, the
Mhm.
projects that make things happen for us, that especially in the black community, is women. Um, when you see marching and all that stuff back Martin Luther King Day, it was not saying that men were there, but the women were the ones that's gathering it. I feel like what we have chosen to do is take on, well, we live in America, we was most of us raised here, so we take this Western template and we put everything into the Western template. We have to recognize, if you're going back to our ancestors, um many of them, they have some that were matriarchally led communities, and some that was patriarchal, some that was both together, right? So we know we have all of that in our history. But for us in community spirituality, there's definitely a balance. I feel like um many of us, how can I say this? Many of us are still, we have mixtures of information in our minds. So it's almost like in the church they say you can't put old wine you can't put new wine in old skins, it's just gonna bust, right? That's, I think, what we did with our brain. Most of us have gotten to this new knowledge and this new information. We have not gotten rid of that stamp that has been put in our brain from the time we came out of our mother's womb, right? So we're putting it into a Western wineskin, I'm going to say. We're trying to do the same thing. So we have this hierarchy that we have to do. Everything has to be a hierarchy. I remember getting into a debate with the gentleman who follows the nation, right? And his thing was like, well, we don't do this in the nation. We treat our women like this, which they do. They treat their women amazing, right? However, you're saying, well, in the Quran, it says women is only, what do you say, 1% less than a man. But that's still trying to, again, we have to measure everything. We have come into this society, a Western thought process, that everything has to be, there has to be this hierarchy. When in if we really truly want to talk about our 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 um our history and what we walk by in Kemetic spirituality, there is none correct. There's always, everything is a male and female with everything. So we say this out of our mouths, but many of us don't walk it at all when we chose to show up for stuff. Even sometimes, think about us as sisters, we're quick to call a sin real quick to get him to do something or let him lead it, versus us stepping up to the mic and doing it because we feel like that's supposed to be the order of
Mhm.
things. No one is higher than, there is no hierarchy in everything. If without one, there is the other. Period. And we're just different. It's like apples and oranges. I can't compare. I'm an orange. The man is an apple. We're not comparable, but you need both of them, right? Kind of situation. With everything, there's an equal and opposite reaction. There's an equal and opposite thing. All of us are needed. So I think when we don't just say that, but actually know it within ourselves and then move in that way, we all show up way, way differently. Because we all listen, we all say it. I'm, guilty of that myself. I'm saying it right now. But I have to make a conscious decision to continue because I have been brainwashed for 40 plus years of my life to think otherwise. So
Mhm.
it's hard to try to remember differently. Like, no, there is a balance. You are not greater than me, or I am not greater than you. Without one, there is no other. Um, like you said, everything shows up in that way. You know, the Most High is male and female.
Right.
It
That's
takes
right.
on both aspects, shall I say.
Both,
It
yeah,
can show up
yeah.
however it does want to show up. There's not one greater than the other. We have created that for whatever reason.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, yeah, the humans, man, and specifically man, as far as male, but man has has caused a lot of division and these ripples in divine order. You know what I mean? And like you said, these are basically the ripple effects of 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 things that have been, wedged in the order process. So, and as long as there's a ripple effects, it seems like balance is always trying to restore itself no matter what. So as long as that cycle continues, we have the ability to fall in line with balance. instead of getting in the way of it. You know what I mean? And oftentimes we as humans do that. We trying to restore something, but sometimes you got to let things be and let the cycle play out. You know what I mean? Um,
Wow.
just because of the appearance, we spoke of Ask. We know that she, gathered all the pieces of Asar, put them together, built a hen and was able to birth. You know what I mean? Was able to do so. We know that Wajet, she was a cobalt. She was fiery. She didn't ask for approval. She showed up. Showed up. It was like a repercussion of something that someone caused if set somewhere. You know what I mean? She was the person who would burn all the falsehoods away so that only truth would be revealed. We have Ma'at, he's the the concept of righteousness, justice, harmony, all of the principles that Ma'at is. But with, like you said, even mentioning those, and of course, in Bedhet, Het Heru, so many of the divine principles, even mentioning those, they do have a balance to them. And in society, even in our home, our relationships, I think that we need to get in the idea of making what's divine be reality as well. Because so as above, so below. So if you can tap into that divine feminine energy, divine again, we're not talking about just male and female aspects, hard muscles and soft, we're talking about the divinity. If you're able to bring that relationship within yourself together, then your relationships, even in the household, between your mate, significant others, things like that, would be less. And it's hard to say chaotic because everybody's relationship isn't chaotic, but if you can maintain, recognize that balance, that divine balance of male and female. And it's not, I don't want to say male female, I just meaning masculine and feminine energies, because a lot of us look at things as it's supposed to be this way, it's supposed to be, but people's capacity for feelings are different. That's what makes us all different. Where we'll look at it as he's not, or he will say she's not this, she's not that. But where's the balance between the two? Because if there's something lacking, it may be something that you have to pour in. If you feel that's lacking, you may be the one to have to pour that in to that cup. If it's lacking, that other person or your balance may not have that capacity. They may not even recognize that something is lacking in that aspect, but you do. So then it can't be something that, once you recognize there's something, and that's not just relationships, this is mainly within ourselves, but it spits outward to our relationships. So if you're recognizing within yourself that there's something missing, that there's a hole, or you're lacking something, who's the best person to pour into that space, that empty space? You, the one that recognizes that there's something missing. But we often, that, like you said, with Western ideology, we look outside of ourselves for those things to be filled, whatever voids we think need to be filled. So, our supposed gods need to fill the void, our spouses, our family, our friends. There's always something that somebody else is supposed to fill within us, um, which I think it definitely causes, it furthers the war, furthers the battle, because now we're in the way of natural order. We're standing in the way of natural order instead of allowing our natural selves to fulfill. And when you do that, you can walk easily with both, with the imbalance, with both energy,
Mhm.
because it's within yourself. If it's within yourself, then that means with you and your mate, with you and your friends, with you and your co-workers, even, it exists there too. Because if it exists within, it exists without, if that makes any sense.
It does.
As above, so below.
Mhm.
And I mean, it definitely makes sense, And I just wanted to piggyback off of one thing that Sinette B. Wisdom was had mentioned earlier, when she was talking about how, like, we were kind of like programmed to believe certain things about ourselves being women. And like, it made me think, and I'm like, you know what, she's right, because I remember growing up and as kids, but the boys would always tease us because of Eve, and the apple, and we're cursed, and the whole, you know period aspect of that as well. You know what I mean? Oh, because you made Adam eat the apple. You made Adam eat the apple, right? God cursed you. And that's why we have to um
Have a period.
release every every
Hmm.
month. Yes. I be trying to choose my words because certain platforms you gotta watch what you say or whatever.
Yeah, true.
And I be on other platforms sometimes too. But yeah, so yeah. Yeah,
You know what?
we were programmed to believe certain things about ourselves being women.
We do. And real quick, I know this we're on the thing where we're dealing with mostly comedic individuals, but I'm gonna say something real quick based off of what Sanette Oye said about, people have this thing with in Christianity talking about how Eve let's school you real quick. Before I came to the place where I am spiritually, I was an ordained minister. So with that being said, that's not what the Bible said for those who do believe in the Bible. um, and you really want to take the truth of the story. Eve was never told not to eat from the tree. Adam was told not to eat from the tree, and it was Adam's job to make sure that he took care of Eve, and Eve did what she was supposed to do. So, if we want to get technical, logical, and I'm using my masculine and feminine energy right now with the logic, logically speaking, that's on Adam because Adam knew what to do, not Eve, and Adam chose to disobey God. With that being said, both people were quote unquote punished and had different punishment that their God chose to give them. So again, that goes back into our Western society again, where people take history, the books that we all read, depending on whatever belief system that we are walking in at the moment, and alter it for patriarchism and try to make it seem as if women are less than or we are the cause of this, that, and the other, without really reading all of it, taking into context, true context of what was said. We tend to flip things a lot. And I even see that sometimes in reading stories about some of the comedic deities that we look at and try to use some of those aspects. Even sometimes when I read the stories that people have written about them, I'm never say I'm still a baby in that, to be honest, but they all too sometimes have this very patriarchal feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though again, like we said, we're a balance, right? And it's the masculine and divine, masculine and feminine energy, and that's how they show up. But when you hear these stories, they still always try to put that masculine deity above that feminine deity, or some way he, for lack of a better way, I'm gonna say rules her. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we have to look at that differently and understand we all are different spaces. So even going back to what Shinkai was saying in the relationship side of it, recognizing the divine feminine in me and recognizing in the gentleman that I'm choosing to deal with the divine masculine in him and how that works. And it's not, and trusting each other, trusting the divinity within each other to move. And it's not that he rules me or I rule him. It's just that we both understand what that looks like when we're both walking in our divine energies. So therefore you trust my intuition and I trust your logic space. So when I say something to like, babe, I know this, I feel this. I don't have to get into your masculine space of
Mm-hmm.
having to break down specifically why. If you truly trust what you say you believe in with the divine feminine and masculine, and women move in intuition. So intuition means I may not be able to break down um quote unquote factual step by step to you, but I know what I'm saying because I'm working within the divine ancestry knowledge that's within me to feel this and know this. And not versus for masculine energy, they want to be more uh factual. I guess I'm not gonna say we're not factual, but I'm gonna say statistic based kind of thing. Like they want to be able to show that 1 + 1 = 2, that thing. Whereas though sometimes with women, when you move in your divinity with the intuition, um, I might not be able to show you on a piece of paper that 1 + 1 = 2, meaning this is fitting to happen right now. But I know within me that it's going to happen, and it does. So
Mm-hmm.
when we move both in our divine energies, we trust each other to know that. So it's not a rule or anything or anybody else. I trust him, and his divine masculine that he's going to show up in a certain way. and this is what his gifts are, this is what his abilities are. So when he says move this way, I move that way, and the same thing over here. He recognizes I might not be able to break it down and give you a thesis on it, but he knows, okay, she's moving in her divine energy, and I trust that, so I'm gonna roll with her, kind of thing. And I think when we're able to get to those spaces, um, it would be it'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, even speaking on relationships, it's. I've been married now 22 years. We've been together 32 years, and I'm not gonna say that.
That deserves some flowers. What you talking about, girl?
Well, I can say now in the era that I'm in now. Now, one would say I don't know how their marriage lasted because yeah, we were young. We went through a lot of storms, but again, like what you just said, it was more of a choice. It wasn't something we had to actually sit down and tell each other that this is what you are to me, and it was a knowing. We never really had to talk about it in that aspect. It came to a point where we both grew and we knew our positions. It wasn't one leading, you know what I mean? We both had to show up in leader roles. We both had to be submissive in certain aspects. We both had to wear many hats, you know what I mean? But it was really more so getting to know ourselves, not even ourselves to each other, but ourselves to ourselves. Knowing that, getting to know yourself, knowing that when you go along with someone in the world, whether it's your significant other, your children, whoever it is, you can't have people be in the box you want them to be in. You have to, and if it's not in balance with you, you move on, whatever the case may be. But you realize when you just be yourself and allow people to be themselves, and you don't manipulate that, you don't try to change that. People are always going to show you who they are, even when you don't see it. They're going to show you who they are. And this applies solely more so to relationships than just solely to relationships. People are pretty much show you who they are right from the jump. Even if you, what people say, red flags, even if you overlook the red flags and things like that, they've already showed you it. You know what I mean? So we have to make sure that we're not putting out contracts that people are signing up for that they don't consent to. You know what I mean? So, and that applies to us too, because we tend to sign contracts that we didn't consent to. You invest so many years, and then you're like, okay, well, this person is not yada yada yada. Well, they weren't yada 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 in the beginning, but you chose to pursue anyway to see if they were going to become yada 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 because it was what you wanted them to become.
Yes,
You know what I mean? And really, the only becoming that has to be done is you have to become, and that can
that
be
part.
good.
That part.
You have to
And just
become.
real quick, because they are having a nice conversation over here in the
That's what I
chat.
was getting ready to
Oh,
say.
yeah, I
They
was
are
just
having a
to
nice
look at the chat. I
conversation
was, yeah, yeah, yeah.
online about some stuff.
Come on, let's.
Um,
Yes. So I'm gonna take it up to the top.
All right.
Excuse me. We have Miss ooh, is that Tara? Tara?
Yes, Tara Chester.
Yes.
Yes, so that means
Tara.
Senator Wasiri is listening in.
Mayat Hotep. Then we have Della Fulton Second. Uncle Mayat Hotepu. Me saying Uncle Mayat to the family. Anton, Becca Neferabet. Love Peace, Uncle Mayat. Jason Holmes, Uncle Mayat. Gavin Stokes. The design was to break up the family to make us imbalanced. And
Mhm,
I know exactly what he's talking about. And then when you go to the next one, government policy prohibited households receiving assistance from having a man in the house. Yeah,
mhm,
they definitely set up the system to remove the man outside of the house. Because in order for a woman to get help, she couldn't have a man in the house. She couldn't be there or whatnot.
mhm. But you got to think it started way before then, though.
mhm.
Excuse me for a second. Definitely. I mean, it's levels. It's levels to each shift. You understand? Like, it's levels to the breakdown. He also said the lioness is never weak. Ashe.
Mhm.
Sin Curtis enters the chat. Uncle Mayada Bet. Gavin Stokes, as above, so below. Men and women like proton and neutrons, the core of the atomic unit. Yes, get into the science of things.
Mhm.
As within, so without. Stokes also said, and I think that's where, like, um, Della said, divine energy is walking in balance, my God, in your masculine and feminine energy, and
Mhm.
not letting this engineered patriarchal society take you off your seat. Authority. Come on
Mhm.
now.
Right.
Um, Sakina Ra said, Uncle Mayat family, I ain't want to mess up your first name, so I just took it to the back name, okay? Just respect. St. Curtis said, we currently live in a culture built on European ideologies and worldviews. Therefore, initially, most of us have been socialized and socially constructed to see ourselves, others, and world from the false and inferior perspective that Europeans held. This includes the miseducation and misconceptions of God and nature taught by their version, of religion.
Mhm.
Sakina Ross said, Uncle Mayat to Sin Curtis. And Sin Curtis then continued and said, divine and conquer applies to dividing, separating us from knowledge of self and sacred and divine energies within and without. Della uh, says, yes, it was on Adam. Ashe. She agrees. Sinet be wisdom. Boom. Um, Gavin Stokes says one question is why would the Almighty not want their seed to eat from the tree of knowledge? Why would the goal be to have them ignorant? And then he says, don't sound correct to me.
Mhm.
And then Sakina Ra said to Be Wisdom, you better say it. You better say it. My head, I'm doing the, so y'all know. Curtis, St. Curtis Jackson said their patriarchal system was designed to subjugate the woman to the man, and their system was designed to destroy the black family by destroying the black man primarily. Dallas says, be wisdom. Yes, this European white patriarchal belief have been brought into African spirituality, Kemetic spirituality. This needs to change.
Mhm.
Then Gavin says, if you study the Greeks who influenced the Bible and learn their history, you will see that they were radical in their patriarchy.
Mhm.
Then he says, Spartans who are held up as the Greek idol viewed relations with men as above those with women. They pre-created because they had to not, they had, wait a minute, they pre-created because they had to, not because they viewed it as pleasurable. Okay.
Mhm.
Like, yeah,
Mhm. I
I'm
agree
going
to
to
that.
get that right.
Mhm.
He also says they preferred men with men. I
Mhm.
agree because you see a lot of that. Um, Sakina Ross says, I agree because apples don't grow in Africa on no tree anywhere. So if they would have kept it as fruit, it would have been, or hold on, let me open this. If they would have kept it as fruit, it would have been, or tree simple yet, the apple blew it.
We
And
got
then Sin Gavin says, when you see movies like The 300 about powerful Spartan warriors, the reality is they fought so hard because they were fighting next to their male lovers.
Mhm. I
Wow.
agree. I
You are
agree.
so right.
Even like those
Um,
the Clash of the Titans, all that stuff. Yes.
yes, the 300 should be called 150 couples. This is the degree to which they marginalized women. And then last but not least, Sakina Ra says, say that part at Sinet Shinkai. Mayat is in being respectful.
That's right.
And I
And here,
have something that I want to share. I shared it on my page or live now to you guys. And somebody, I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce your name. If I do, Fami was saying, I was
uh-huh,
wondering,
yes,
have we
yes.
made distinction between Eurasian patriarchy and African patriarchy? And that is definitely something that we definitely should think about and talk about. That is not an area where I'm an expert at this moment, so I'm not even speaking on it now. But that's something that maybe in the future we'll somewhere you'll see one of us, all of us, tap into that topic. Just not today, but that is a key point for sure. We do have to understand there's difference between African patriarchy and the Eurasian patriarchy as well.
Mhm. Now I say, and not even that I say. Actually, let me see. There's some more stuff over here. Got St. James
Mhm.
Limba, Ankh Maat to you. We've got Umemi Joy. I never say that word. Umemi J. Latet Abat. And I think that's with Alafu right there. That has the name there. Was wondering about that question. It says good stuff, lady. Wows. Now I want to say something. This is a great conversation about that. Now, when we look at the black family, we know that there's been so many things to destroy the black family. Um, and we all know that it needs to change. I've even seen it change, and I'm not sure if you all. I've seen the dynamics changing. I mean, like for instance, we can talk about something that we just saw recently. Ti and the beef wasn't nothing. The little rap beef. I'm not even into rap like that, but the Ti and 50 Cent's beef. The way that whole family showed up for that woman. If your family ain't riding out for you like they rode for Tiny, because without question, the sons, everybody, all what I mean, they all came, and it's not about the fight, not about the battle. It's about the stability in our homes. You know,
Hmm. And the protection of the women and men teaching their sons, their nephews,
how
and
to
other
respect
young
women.
men what that looks like. Yeah.
Exactly. And then on the defense for men as well, we have to do better as well, because
Yes.
we've always been the nurturers, but what are we doing to support our black man besides pointing fingers at him and telling him do this and do that, or you letting him know that he ain't doing it right? What is it, like for wives, for even support? Now, we're talking about this patriarchal, thing that we see, the Eurasian patriarchal thing, but the black man's got it bad as well. Because not only are we're in the era of we can do it all ourselves, we're not even supporting him. I'm not saying we per se,
Talking
but
about overall.
overall, what are we doing? We're not telling him it's okay for him to be vulnerable and fall apart, that he's safe to do so in my arms. And then we get up together and walk on through this thing. But he's got to keep going. He's got to be strong. He's got to, you know what I mean?
I agree.
So
Yeah.
how
I
do we
feel
Well,
like
I
keep
can
through this
say I
thing,
can't speak
you know?
for everybody else, but I mean I can speak for myself. As it pertains to uh the divine masculine being I'm raising. I was raising. He's grown now, so you know my part is. I'm not gonna say it's done, but I'm here when he needs me. You know what I mean? But I did give him that. I had to give him that because when I was going through my journey and I was awakening to my BS, the stuff within me. You know what I mean? Once I noticed it, um, because like I was like a little narcissist to my son because well it was passed down to me, you know what I mean? That's how my dad raised me, and that's how I knew to discipline and talk to my child, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
However, what I will say is when I recognized that I was taking on characteristics of my father because I didn't want to be that. I witnessed that. You get what I'm saying? And I didn't want to be that. It hurt me to the core. You get what I'm saying? I cried and everything. And then after all of that, after I got myself together, I went to my son and I sat my son down and I said, "Listen, son, I realized that I wasn't right about a lot of things. And I raised you and I told you that boys wasn't supposed to cry, that men was not supposed to cry.
Mhm.
And I'm wrong about that because if you wasn't supposed to cry, you wouldn't have tears. If
Mm,
you wasn't supposed to feel, you wouldn't have feelings. You get what
mhm,
I'm saying? And I
mhm,
was wrong for that. I was wrong. You
mhm.
get what I'm saying? But I'm here to correct it today. And I'm here to tell you and let you know that it's okay for you to let those tears flow. You get what I'm saying? Because crying is a release. You get what I'm saying? It's a detoxification of all of the stuff that you've been holding on to. You know what I mean? And when you cry, it's like giving that a release. You're releasing all of that. You get what I'm saying? And it probably it holds some other benefits too or whatnot. But I'm a baby, like Be Wisdom would say, in that. But I did have that understanding. I felt that my son needed to hear that, and
Mm.
I went to him and I let him know that. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh, the this is why we have emotionalist men today telling them things like that. Oh, you're not supposed to cry because we're telling them get rid of your emotions. That's why they don't
Mhm.
feel
Yep.
anything.
You're not
Yep.
supposed to have emotions. You're supposed to be strong.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
You ain't
supposed to
supposed
be
to show
strong.
them. Yep.
No, you can be
I
weak
agree.
because when you're weak, guess what? I'm here to be strong for you. Just like you're here to be strong for me. That's a fluctuation. That door is supposed to swing both ways. You
Right.
get what I'm
Or
saying?
sis, we could say this. It's not even being weak. Let's get rid of that word. We have to learn to,
Yeah, it's not
words
weak.
have meaning, right? And use it different. It's not weak. It's just being who you are.
Who you
It's
are.
being a human
Mhm.
being,
Navigating
being
through the
open. And
experience.
so we kind of sometimes I think the words that we use sometimes is good. Um,
Absolutely.
we get messed up with too. But Senkai, when you were talking about, what do we as women, how do we show up for the black men in our world, in our community, period, not just in our lives per se, but
Right.
overall, and how we have to do better with that. I think a lot of women do. I think this what happens is that we get caught up in what we see out in the media, and they like to show us one aspect only of black culture, right? That
Mhm.
black women and black men are going at each other, and that's what we see the most on social media and everything else. So we think that is
Like the
the
majority.
macrocosm, and a
Mhm.
microcosm is that we get along. I think it's about 50-50. Honestly, it's all about the realm and the areas in which you choose to walk in as to what you see more than anything. Not saying, I see both. I just don't think one is more prevalent than the other, like we're being told. But I also think a way for us to be able to show up better for ourselves as women or men or just people all together in our communities is we already know the issues and concerns, right? So why are we still dwelling on that? So how about this? Let's work on what creates that positivity in our lives.
Right.
What can we do to change it? So we show up like that, then stuff changes. What I've learned from watching others and my own personal experience is this: what you dwell on is what you live in. So if I dwell on I ain't got nothing, I ain't got no money, I ain't got no life, I ain't got no man or whatever, guess what happens? That's what shows up in my life.
That's what it's gonna
But
be.
when I dwell on my happiness, my peace, my bliss, um, I got the best man in the world. Look at here, he does this for me. He know I like my little $5 flowers. He show up with them every week. You know what I'm saying? Then that's what shows up in my life. So for us as women, what we can do is, if we want to, again, I'm saying this, it's the thing they used to say: the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, right? So we create these young men, we're nourishing them initially or whatever. So we want them to show up how we want them to show up. We build that into them. One, stop calling your little boys niggas. Our little kids niggas. They not niggas. That means something. Who are they? What are they? Speak into their lives. Our words mean something. That's what our culture says, and that's why we name people certain things, because we're speaking life into them. So speak life into every black man you see, into every child you see. Um, don't always focus on the negative or the things that they need to improve on, which was my mistake, me and my ex-husband mistake with our kids. Um, if I can get a little transparent with you guys, we focused on what wasn't versus what was good, majority in our kids, and that didn't work out great for us at all. And they were amazing kids. They are amazing. My children are amazing, intelligent beings. But it was like, oh, you got A's and B's, but this right here is a C. So we're gonna dwell on this C over here instead of celebrating the other stuff. Like, we can work on that C, but let's focus on what it is. Build them up in a different way. Speak life into yourself and to everyone around you. And I think that's how we can show up for the black man in life versus talking about um what they ain't doing. How he ain't taking out the trash the way you think he should. He should take it out when it gets this high versus this high and all that other dumb crap that we be arguing about, or that he didn't do it the way we wanted to do it. Um, See them for who they are and how they move and accept it. And listen, when somebody know you love them and you big them up, they show up even more, right? When
That's
that
right.
man, you be, oh, you didn't did this, thank you, baby. You took out the trash. You don't know how much I love that, because that was trying to drive my insane. He want to make you happy, so now he doing it before you even think the trash should go out or whatever. And that's walking in our divine feminine too, that we don't even understand. And that's something that I'm learning. And I gotta share a book with you girls, ladies too, that Queen Tadin we brought to my attention, about, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically saying how we as women, you know how you say you kiss a frog and you turn them into a prince. We're
Mm.
saying how women we are kissing princes, turning them into frogs because of the way we show up to them and how we talk to them, how we interact with them, thinking they should be like us. When I read this book, I was like, ooh, I'll be turning men into frogs. What's wrong? I need to fix myself. But it is so true. And that's just us recognizing that we, like I said before, we are apples and oranges and we are different. And just like we want men to accept us for who we are in our totality, we have to do the same thing for them and recognize they are not us. We are not them. So if we want them to respect how we move and how we just be in our divine feminine energy, it's not about doing, it's about being and in the flow and the ebbs and flows and the lightness of it. And we want them to accept that, then we have to accept how they show up.
That's
And
right.
because we can't be the woman that we want to be with the flowing and the just being here and all, if he doesn't be grounded and do what he got to do. So we can't knock him for being who they are and how they show up. I think, we just start there. We be getting somewhere real good in our community.
Absolutely. And realizing the capacities. Everybody's capacity is different. How you show up may not be how he shows up. But you got to be
Exactly.
okay with that because he's not you and you're not him. Your cup contains this and his cup contains that. Doesn't matter if it's more or less, but you're only going to love to the capacity that you know how to. So be that. You be that example of what you want to see. Everybody knows be the change you want to see. But like you said, instead of always highlighting what's wrong, you know what I mean? How about letting them know what's right? How about supporting what's right? Working through what might be wrong. So we'd love to hear just as much of detail of African historical examples. Exactly.
I would like to, which meaning,
Are you
I would
saying
begin
like
to
as
ask the
far as
question. Yeah.
relationships? Like would love to hear just as much detail. Oh, it's Sanjetti. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And
2
when
hours.
when you say
What
African
question?
historical examples, are you
I know
saying
we got. I know you got some. What are they?
exactly like
Or
some
like
Like,
women,
relationships or
hit us with
or
the
women in
historical
power.
examples.
Like, because if he's speaking of like examples
or
like
you talking
that,
about
then we
divine
have
feminine.
Queen Hatshepsut,
Hmm.
Queen T. Those were like Queen Hatshepsut. She was the first uh um pharaoh, well, self-proclaimed, and then Queen T, ooh, she was whooping
She
tail
was, yeah,
out on
she was
the board. She was
winning
whooping
wars.
her. You understand? So like is that what he's referring to, or
Yeah, elaborate for us, Sanjeti, on what you mean by that. But that I think that's definitely what B Wisdom said is definitely powerful because that's what we need to do. You know what I mean? And it looks to me, like I said, I don't. As she said, when you mentioned the micro and the macrocosm, I see it differently. I don't see it as all families are chaotic. I feel like it could even be more than 50-50. That there are healthy relationships, lasting healthy relationships. But you're not going to see those highlighted. Of course, who's going to highlight the things that are good? Drama and chaos is what grabs the attention. So I think that it's our duty to highlight those healthy relationships and things that are good in the black family. You know what I mean? And things are changing. And I mean they're changing in my opinion for the better. I think that people are uniting. People are coming into themselves. Um, their Kipper process is working out. Relationships are lasting. People are actually happy to be together. Like for me, my relationship isn't work. It once was work, but now it's a choice, and a choice that we actually want to do. something, it's not something that we just going to make it work. It's not a make it work. It's something that we want, that we both chose. You know what I mean? And when you choose that, it's not even sacrifices. You're able to be comfortable with who you are, and you're comfortable with who you're with, letting them be who they are without trying to manipulate anything or change anything. Um, see, let me see here. Oh yeah, definitely. Let me see here. You can definitely. He said he can elaborate on the point. He's gonna come on real quick.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Let me do that.
Yes, please bring in. See, this is where the masculine energy
This is
comes
yeah.
in
This is what.
for
This
this
is
balance
exactly.
in this system that we definitely need. I do.
As soon as I can figure out how to do so,
Absolutely.
let's see. How do I?
Don't you just send them the link?
That's what I'm trying to do. And as soon as I can figure out how to do that, where's the button? I don't want to leave, and that's the share screen. Hold on. Oh, invite. There we go. Invite.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, if anybody has something to say, there's the link, and I will be happy to let you come on in and share your thoughts. There's the link right there.
I do. Amazing. Yes.
Show it like that. There it is.
Yes, but this show goes back to the again that I thought about with the balance of it all and dealing with the masculine and divine feminine energy where we flow, we know intuitive. Not saying that women are not scholarly at all. I'm kind of scholarly, but honestly, I go off of my intuition feelings. Not saying I'm not, I do, but in this area, that's where I go, and I know um, since Jedi is very scholarly in his
Hmm.
historical information, and that's where the balance come in. I'm
Absolutely.
I'm excited to hear.
I am too. Yes,
I have to
definitely.
get some knowledge up in here, yo.
Yeah. Sakina Ross says chaos is only something that warrants attention to be addressed and handled for it's misunderstood, and it can become chaotic, which will become very troublesome. Yep. There we go. Hotep, stay by.
Yes, yes.
Looks like he driving. There you go. We can't hear you though. Oh, wait a minute.
I'm parked. We're good.
There you go.
All right. All right. Hotep ladies. How y'all feeling?
All right. All right.
Up to you.
Question: Are you getting any feedback from my end on the sound?
No, it sounds fine.
They sound good.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Well, good discussion. Good discussion. I'm Ifa Tunde Fayemi in the chat. That's me. That's me. So, I brought up some important topics. Um, now over the years, I've heard, the antithetical to patriarchy. And it's important to distinguish Eurasian patriarchy, in which Abrahamism comes from, and African patriarchy. Because now, mind you, this is no one's fault at all. This is just, the words and phrases that come down to us that, we're socialized. So when we say patriarchy is the problem, okay, that's leading us somewhere. But subconscious, I want to share with y'all the subconscious effect that has on our sons and boys. Because see, when you say patriarchy is the problem, okay, what those words are saying is, me as a boy who then becomes a man, who are your sons, if I'm in charge of something or if I'm responsible for something, that means that I'm a problem by virtue of me being responsible for something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, most of us are not thinking that way because we're thinking about the traumas that we've accumulated over the centuries and even in our own lives as a result of systemic abuse by men who seek to destroy our families, which includes other men,
Mm-hmm.
women, and children, but includes other men. So now boys coming up subconsciously thinking that I am a problem by virtue of me having responsibility. So no matter what I do, I'm evil
Mm-hmm.
because my women are saying patriarchy is the problem. Now, you may not mean it that way, but that takes us sharing how to articulate these ideas. I heard earlier an example of how the men were kept out of the homes, right? Started back in the, was it the 70s?
Mm-hmm.
So that women, our mothers and grandmothers, and maybe great grandmothers, could get financial assistance from the government, right? Yes, that had a detrimental effect, long lasting effect that still affect us now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then we have some sisters who say that, well, matriarchy is the answer. Now, this is a hard conversation because, see, if we're going to get to the other side of healing, you got to walk through where it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us don't want to walk through where it hurts, so we stay where it's comfortable. But if you want to get to the healing, you got to walk through where it's uncomfortable.
That's right.
Then you get there. And then you have to watch people who capitalize off of you being comfortable.
Mm.
Okay? So here's part of the hard conversation. One of the most effective ideological tools that broke up our family is feminism. Now, let me share this with you. Feminism is a European ideology that has a self-perpetuating mechanism built into it. Meaning, if I say the word feminism, when you hear the word female in there, the constructors of the idea already know that the second I criticize it, you as the woman subconsciously are going to take that as an attack against you as a woman, where my arguments have nothing to do with you as a woman. The name of it protects the ideology. So we end up having these circular arguments and we never actually get to what the solutions are because you have been subconsciously triggered, and then we never get to any solutions, and we're back to square one. And guess who walks away with the money?
Mm.
Okay.
The person who created it.
But watch this. The men who created it. Because if I'm a man, I'm going to tell y'all this. And let's deal with the reality. You need men.
Yes.
To protect you from other men. Because why would they take the man out of the home? Women didn't think about that. Who would think about that?
Men.
Yes.
If we take them out, there's no protection. They're left vulnerable. They're left.
Well, they're more vulnerable. You are more vulnerable.
Right.
So feminism makes you vulnerable because it says, I can do this all by myself. I don't need a man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, what makes that easier for who to come into your house? Right?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't serve. Now, back to patriarchy. What type of patriarchy? Because, see, we all love Kemet. Raise your hand. We all love Kemet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kemet was patriarchal. Okay? Kemet was patriarchal. So if if we make the blanket statement that patriarchy is the problem, but yet we love a patriarchal society. But does that patriarchal society are they abusing women? No. Abuse of women is not part of the values. Okay. Okay. Does things like that happen? Men get abused. This is human nature. Okay.
Mhm.
But the question is it a high value of that culture? Okay. We want to think about that. Most cultures that have goddesses in them as high usually have more respect for women.
Mhm.
And this is a patriarchy. Dr. Charles Finch, I really recommend you read this recent ancestor, the Asar, Charles Finch III Ma'akaru. His work called Echoes of the Old Dark Land. Echoes of the Old Dark Land. He talks about this very same topic. Everyone, all our sisters, talks about the Great Mother. The next chapter, he talks about the rise of patriarchy. And then he talks about how Kemet was able to balance the two, where it's called a matrilineal patriarchy.
Mhm.
Okay? The legitimacy runs through the female line. Why? Because there's no doubt who the mother is, because we see who the mother is. Okay? But you have to have a patriarchy because you have to protect yourself against outside invaders.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, again, a hard conversation. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't feel good. But again, I got to be direct with you, right?
It should be. It doesn't have to be.
A matriarchy cannot protect you against other men.
Mhm.
Okay. It doesn't. Now, me saying that doesn't mean that women don't have agency, because you go to West Africa, places, who is the master of the marketplace? Women, meaning you are better at that. You are the master of the marketplace. That has to do with what? Commerce, trade, correct? So we have that in our societies. So although it's it's patriarchal, but African patriarchy assigns a greater agency to our women, our mothers.
Mhm.
So
I think
that's
it's
what,
all of the. I wanted to ask you, this when you started speaking about when we use the word patriarchy and how it can show up, with our men and our sons in a negative way. How could we speak on it and using a different terminology so that we're not using our words in a detrimental way, um, to our men and our boys? Like I know you said, using the word patriarchy can make them think that, because they are in charge of something or whatever, that they're wrong because of that. So, what is another way of being able to speak on it? I guess without putting a negative light on our sons and men.
all right. Thank you for that question. Very important. I think that as of right now, qualify it. So if you say Eurasian patriarchy, I think that adds more clarity. But then in the same breath, you is beneficial to then discuss African patriarchy.
Mhm.
Because we could say the problem is Eurasian patriarchy, but we left the other side blank.
Mhm.
So you have to fill that in. However, check it out. You want to study the African patriarchy, those systems, and discuss that first.
Okay, makes sense.
Discuss that first, then the Eurasian. Because if you put more energy into the what we don't like, it's like 20. It's like 80. It's like 95%. We talk about things we don't like, and 5% of what kind of it's like a sidebar cursor.
Mhm.
Even with some of the comments. Now, mind you, again, I'm being direct.
Yes, please
What
do.
example? Now, this is moving forward. But think about this. We gave the biblical examples of stuff we don't like, where these problems. How many people actually gave African examples, African stories, heroes, their struggles, and their accomplishments that show that this actually is showing where we have a deficit of knowledge of our own cultures? Because not saying just this platform, I mean platforms across the board. What cultures and religions and histories are they normally talking about? Even if they're talking about how they don't like it or it's the problem. Well, what about the accomplishments of Shaka Zulu?
Uh-huh.
Where are the examples of how Queen Nzinga honored her ancestors and exactly what she did? What were her dreams? What interactions did she have? What are her sayings? I want to hear sisters quoting Queen Nzinga. How often have we heard any of that? I'm gonna say zero.
None.
Okay,
You're right. Thank you.
Absolutely
right?
Thank
none.
you for that. Thank you for that.
You know,
Absolutely.
but again, but just moving forward, this is the challenge.
Hmm.
I'm challenging our sisters here. Bring some quotes of Queen Nzinga in the text, Kemetic text. There's quotes from Queen Hatshepsut. Okay, where she's speaking, it's there. Okay, we'll also quote your men. Quote it as a whole. Go into those examples. It's a whole plethora of stuff. Whole plethora, and I think that y'all can do it. Y'all have the mind, y'all have the heart, you have the agency to do it.
Definitely,
Do it.
Do
definitely.
I? Yes, and I thank you for that challenge. And this kind of goes back to something that I said that helps me move and elevate myself. Speaking on what we want to see versus what it the problems and the issues, but giving those examples of where in our African patriarchism and in our African culture we have shown up and was doing these things and moving and showing good examples of those things. Because that's what we want here now in our culture. So that's what I'm going to do. I got some work to do and some
Well,
studying to do. But do I thank you for that.
for sure. Do
Yeah.
I? And our
So when I,
our our goal is to, continue to change that narrative. Continue to be able to support our black men and boys, because the reality is we all, a lot of women, I can do it all by myself. It wasn't meant to be that way. You know what I mean? Um, and truth be told, I don't I can't speak for all women, but I don't even think we want it to be that way. You know what I mean? It's easy to say, it's easy to use as a defense mechanism to show this shell, but we all don't want to do it on our own. I think we all want that balance. Most women that I know, you know what I mean, and we need to also, as women, figure out how to not only be better to our men, but we have to be better to each other as sisters, as women to each other. We nurture the babies, we do these things, but we have to do we don't give that same nurturing to ourselves when we're ailing, and we definitely have to get better with doing it with each other. I do see things changing. I definitely see things changing. It seems like the black family is growing into what it should be, and it still takes work. It takes time and it takes work, but they have to know, these men should not feel like it's almost like even being told, when you're born in sin. Well, what did I do wrong? I just got here. You know what I mean? So if these men have that on themselves, that, the word patriarchy is wrong, then they already have that wrong stigma, that there's something wrong with them already. You know what I mean? In the role that they have been born into, something's wrong with them, which, we've got to make sure that we secure that also as nurturers, making sure that they feel safe in those roles that they're going into, the natural roles, the natural divine roles that they're given. They've got to feel safe in that space too.
mm, yeah, and having that nourishment and reinforcement from our mothers, our
Mhm.
wives, our daughters, our cousins, our aunts, our mother figures, our sister figures is empowering. And you don't want to give up your power, sisters. Your power is your sacred feminine. Being feminine, that is your power.
Mm-hmm.
But you have those out there who want you to relinquish your power by telling you to be like men.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of diminishing your power.
And it has
See?
it has had the opposite effect, because it's not only it has made women to take on these roles as men, it's also demasculating our men as well. You know, they are you, you know, we won't even get into the fashion these days. I don't even, some of the stuff that
Yeah, yeah.
wearing purses and carrying on. Look, do what you do, but in turn, it's almost like that delusion is flopped our roles. The men are more demasculating and the women are more masculating. You know what I mean? Where our roles are being manipulated, in other words.
Yeah, and it's, now watch this in the same vein, is defeminizing to you.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, it defeminizes you. Now, one thing that I tend to do, given that I have a science background, uh, I start with biology, and I want y'all to remember this and take this with you in when you're studying phenomenon. Period. All things start from from physical reality, not the other way around. You have those who would tell you, okay, let's start off abstract, meaning they'll talk to you about higher ideals, but don't start with the foundation, which is the physical.
Mhm.
They'll tell you that like your physical body is bad and your spiritual self is good. That is a false dichotomy. You don't find that in African cultures. Okay? You find that in Eurasian cultures where they have this disdain for the physical body and a shame of their bodies.
Mhm.
And then they make that into abstract ideas. So everything starts with the physical, everything starts with concrete. That's why I start with biology. Okay? So when it comes to the functions of men, i.e., male or human males, and the functions of human females, start biologically. Okay. When it comes to symbols, start with the physical. The symbol comes next. Because remember the word symbol, I want you to look up the etymology of the word symbol. It means that which is reflected. But what is it reflecting? You go to the original object. So everything starts off physical. Physical reality is the basis of reality. So when it comes to the function, men, we are the primary protectors. You're the secondary. You are the primary nurturer. I'm the secondary. So the only reason we need to switch a role is because one person is down temporarily and then the other just takes. It shouldn't be permanent. See? So
Yes.
you are the primary nurturer. So my role is to protect the house. But you're the master of what happens inside of the house. See? Man, now this is two parts. Man is the head of the household. That's half of it. The other half, the woman is the heart of the household. That's the other part that's not said. So, and the brain needs the heart because we need blood, right? Okay. So you work together. So the two primary organs that make the body function is the brain and the heart.
That's right.
Okay. You need those two things for an effective household. So remember, always start biologically. Always start biological. The function of well, we can't talk about it out and open here, but when it comes to our reproduction, everything starts biologically. All the symbols come up off of that.
Mhm.
Save that for another conversation, another time. Okay. Uh, so just one example of writing. I'll give you this. So I had a conversation with a Muslim brother years ago, and he talked about how you have the divine language, Arabic, etc. And I said, well, respectfully, Arabic can't be the origin as far as the writing system. So why not? So, well, because it's abstract. Reality doesn't start off abstract.
That's what the
You
physical.
have to go to cultures where the symbols are reflect things you see in nature and the phenomena. Those are older cultures. So the your science can't be it can't start off that way. It developed from metal nature, as we already know. That's already been demonstrated. We can demonstrate that. Okay. Uh, so it starts off with concrete reality. So even with our practice, African practice, everything starts off physical. So we physically give offerings. You have to physically do these things because Marimba Ani, one of our great mother scholars, in her book, if you don't have it, get this. Um, the unbroken circle. Let the circle be unbroken. Let the circle be unbroken. Remember that spirit needs matter to come into existence, while matter needs spirit in order to be animated. She speaks about in that book. Let the circle be unbroken by Marimba Ani. And remember, having an African patriarchy does not mean that your agency isn't there. I'm gonna tell you this: one of the best books, anthropology, on how to categorize human behavior and cultures, was written by Marimba Ani. Urugu, an African-centered critique of European culture, thought, and behavior. You should have that book. If you don't have it, you should order it today. Okay. So, but remember, our traditions is physical. You physically do these things, and the symbols come up off of that. Your behavior, iwapwele, iwarere, as we say in Yoruba language, in Sheshe and Lukumi, good character, gentle character. We speak about Ma'at, okay? The instructions of Ptahhotep, the instructions of Kagimni, the instructions of Paepor. All of them talk about good character that we have to have with each other. Y'all mentioned it earlier. We have to have good relationship with, our sisters. Jinka, I think you mentioned that earlier. Yeah, with each other. So anyway, I can go on. Next thing you know, it'd be 2 hours. But y'all brought up some really, really important topics, opening up discussion. Thank you for having me. I know this was a kind of last minute. I was listening because I'm on my way to the gym, and I'm like, man, I see my sisters in there building, and I think that offering to you certain challenges, I think that y'all can meet those challenges. I think that y'all have the maturity and the mental acuity to do some of that research, et cetera, because I'm your brother.
Absolutely.
I'm here to support you. So the next time I see you three on together and y'all dropping jewels, I'm gonna be like, yeah, they did that.
Yes, for sure. This was amazing.
Definitely amazing. And the responses in the chat and everything like that. So it was a great build. And I think as Women's Month is coming to a close, this was a perfect conversation in reference to the things that are going on. And we'll be talking about how we restore, rebuild, and I would say restore the Black family, especially the African American family. We've got to get back to restoration, and for both boys and girls. You know what I mean? A lot of things I see changing for the greater cause. And it may not be highlighted on TV or on the internet, but that information should be out there as people are coming into themselves, and it feels like we're rising. Things are getting better with more awareness, and people are delving into their awareness and taking action. So I'm seeing more families be united, more so than broken. Things are changing, but we need to highlight that and definitely encourage the change and the unity of the Black families to come back together.
D. All right, sisters. All right, I'm about to jump off of here. Listen, y'all have a fantastic day, productive day, and let's build soon. All right.
All right.
Do I do?
All right. All right. Shimon tap.
All right. All right. What a wonderful, wonderful bill that was. We will go into, if you guys have anything to add, we will now ask if there is anybody out there that is in need of prayer or has got anything going on or, would like their names mentioned, please say so in the chat now. I will say I definitely have been this week. I usually don't even, put myself on the list, but I will definitely put myself on the list. The ambulance had to come and get me on Sunday a week ago. I'm still not walking. Um, I'm slowly standing up and coming along. There's multiple things going on. Not only is there sciatica, they found a tumor on my kidney, a cyst on my kidney, and diverticulitis and diverticulosis, including sciatica, all at the same time. Um, so I was in the hospital. They let me. I haven't been able to kind of move out of this room all week long. Just why you don't see me in my normal office because I can't climb up the stairs as of yet. Um, but I'm claiming the healing. It's getting better. Um, one day at a time is all I can say. Other than that, if there's anybody else that's got something going on, we always pray for him, Netarwasiri, as he is healing. Matter of fact, praise report. I did speak to him last night. I know that Sinette Terra was in the chat, but I did get a chance to speak to him last night. It was brief. He still, is in therapy for speech and everything, but I got to hear his voice. And I just wanted to let you all know that. And he definitely is missing everybody, of course. And he will be back as soon as he can. So I did get to speak with him last night. Um, let's see. Is there anybody else? There's some birthdays I saw. As you guys heard at the beginning, Himnetter and Tepi Jabari's birthday is the 25th of this month. So wish him a happy solar return. There was somebody else too. Let's see. I already know without looking because I know I'll find it. But our send from Canada, his birthday. That's Tahuti Ma'at Ra. Let me see. Did it pass or is it coming up? Yes, it was 3 days ago on the 19th. I knew I had seen that. Tahuti Miss Ma'at Hotep. He's always on Comedic Ascension doing the opening of the way. So we want to definitely wish him a happy solar return. And it looks like that's all the birthdays that I have listed here from our members and folks that we know in the shrine. Checking the chat just to see if there's anyone else in need of prayer. Oh, that's Sinette Terra is there. So I know that Himnetter Wasiri is listening in. So you all send him some love and some myrrh. Dua for Sinette Terra for being here and letting him see how things are going. We've been going strong every week. Please let him know that we love him. Of course we do, and we miss him. Dua Sin James, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm trying not to complain too much. It could be worse. So it is what it is. You want to say hello before we get off? Say hi. um, I don't really have any announcements or anything else. Um, if one of you two ladies would like to close us out in prayer, that would be great. Are you muted?
I am muted. Oh, I don't like doing this. I don't know if this is gonna be closed out in prayer or whatever. I'm just gonna say what's on my heart at this particular moment. As far as I want to give thanks to you, to beautiful ladies, for allowing me to be on here with you, and to share this energy in this space with you guys. I have learned a lot today and last Sunday as well. Being being reconnected with you guys. So I give thanks for that. Give thanks for this platform. Give thanks to all who are on here who share their knowledge with us. For today, that was Sanjetti and his brilliant mind that was much needed for this end of the Women's Month to bring that ma'at and that balance back into play for us, and to challenge all of us to move higher in our comedic um, walks, right, in our Kefir paths. Um, I said we all continue to be able to heal, um, and to walk into the purposes that we have. Praying for other ones that need healing, that the divine may touch your body, your back, and Sin. I can't remember what you said his name was. That we know we still get on his healing path. Speaking that you are healed, I am healed. They are healed. Dua Shanti Ashe. Give thanks to you all.
Dua. All right, and I'll just close with dua to the Netaru for guiding us towards harmony. Dua to the divine feminine presence that nurtures life and restores balance. May the wisdom of Ma'at guide our thoughts. May compassion of the Netaru guide our actions. And may harmony grow within this Kemetic family as it is, as it will be, and as it shall be. Until next week, may we all leave the circle with our hearts as light as a feather, spirits nice and light, and everybody have a blessed and prosperous week. Until then, we'll see you all next week. Shimmer Motel.
And then we'll tell.